Hey, good morning. This is CP3T Fizzle live in the mix for you audience, fans, family, homies, you beautiful ladies. We do it for you. Today's podcast, we're moving in motion. As we speak, we're going down 288, very big freeway here in Houston, Texas, on the southern eastern side of Houston, Texas. It's a beautiful day, and hardcore sports talk, philosophies, sociological aspects, rumors, opinions, ESPN style, putting together good projects for good people. So like and share, and continue in the madness. Mr. Pharms, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, blessed. Another day up, another day alive. That's a blessing.
What are we doing today?
Well, we're going out to my grandmother's house. As of June, she turned 101 years old. So
101.
101.
Wow. That's 100 years. That's a long time to live.
Yeah, that's a century.
Your grandma's a century old.
Yes, a century and 1 year.
Is her last name Pharms?
No. I mean, that's
Caution. TX 288 narrow lanes.
That's my female inside the car that keeps me in order. Let me know that there's going to be traffic getting on the freeway. So she says, add caution. So yeah, we're just going to my grandmother's to say hi to her, and just my mom will be there. So it'll be my mom and my grandmother.
Your grandma's last name isn't Pharms?
No, my grandmother, she married and then she remarried. So her last name is Bryant.
Nice.
Aline Bryant.
Okay, so there's more than just Pharms who's contributed to the awesome gene pool that you struck the lottery out on when you were born.
Yes, her oldest sister lived to be 104. She outdid the youngest sister who lived to be 98. So the three sisters, you got 104, my grandmother at 101, and the one who passed away. God bless her.
God bless her.
She always said, you ask her how she's doing, she said partly cloudy.
Nice.
So, hey, that's a good saying to say. Okay. Fair to partly cloudy.
Fair to partly cloudy. Okay. All right. Yeah, man, I hate talking about super important things and just move on like it's just a topic of discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But, I was concerned last night after last night's podcast, the previous podcast, when you were talking about children who are on the bench. Not just children, but younger athletes who ride the bench. Now, you said something very, very interesting, and this is what I was mainly talking about when you say your best work, it's like you're off air. So, like, you said something very interesting about parents who are the parents of children or youth athletes who ride the pine riders.
What I was meaning, you never want to even talk about your kid being on the bench because you don't want them in that mentality that they're not going to be successful. I mean, a bench rider is someone who's not necessarily participating. So I don't ever want to refer to a kid or anything like that as far as being somebody that's on the bench, because it's all about them being positive, being successful. So
you don't want to promote being a pine occupant.
Right.
So do you even remember what your exact words were?
I mean, yeah, I said a couple of things. I said something about as far as rivers and they part, but they come back together. I meant is that sometimes kids may get outside of themselves and there may be a struggle within the parent and the kids, but once the kid may get out and find out that the parent was right, they'll come back and said, okay, mother and father, I knew you were right. And they have to bow down and admit to where, you were telling me right.
So why do you use the term bow down?
Because
bow down seems so submissive.
No, bow down is you're supposed to honor your mother and your father.
Okay, so all of the youth athletes, you should honor your mother and father, and your days amongst this earth will be plentiful. Is that he said that concerning the youth or the younger athletic generation, future NFL players who are currently in little leagues, the Pee Wee leagues, the middle school athletes, the high school athletes, not so much college, because college, you're pretty much deep rooted in your techniques and your system, and if you don't have it by high school, you diminish your shot not substantially, but through hard work, these odds and these recommendations don't apply. But in the youths with their athletic career, what he was saying was that if your younger athlete is riding the riding the bench is not to be glorified. Okay? In fact, what he was saying was that the mentality that they should have is that the only people that really that should be comfortably seated within the parameters of a football stadium is the audience, the spectators, the beloved fans who come to the games. Those are who benches are for, so they can watch the awesome sport of football. So, any athletes that are on the bench, you got to pay attention to different aspects, like, how you position your helmet when you strike on impact, not to be too rough, glorify the work, glorify the technique, work on strategies, When we were speaking off air, he was speaking about how, positioning on the field, how parents should not talk to their children in a, like a bull in the ring situation where one athlete is standing up faced a whole crew of, ops. When their eyes are big as pizza pans and their reception to instruction, can be restricted because the communication. Game time, parents that vicariously live through their athletes to prolong their career from their parents' wishes. He's saying that when you interact with the younger athletes, you got to be real careful when to catch them and when to talk to them, when to instruct them, when to separate from that and be a father. You got to differentiate all these different avenues and aspects. So yes, what Mr. Pharms was saying in English was the aforementioned.
True. It's more so tell your kids to have fun. Go out there and have fun.
Right.
Don't put the stress on them. As far as bowing down, I had to bow down to my son in a particular game. I was sitting there listening to other parents, and he was playing soccer, and I said something, and he looked at me. He was like, "Stop." I looked at him. He looked at me straight eye to eye, and I stepped back, and I was quiet. They won the game, and once we got back to the vehicle, when we were going home, I apologized to him because he was busy taking care of what he needed to take care of. But I don't need to talk to him. The coaches instructed him. His teammates, they're playing together, so he doesn't need an outside distraction.
So parents should be very careful of becoming an outside distraction.
Yes.
Okay, you hear that? You parents out there, you overzealous career fanatics, You're spending tons of money on your child to eat, on your youth to eat, to house them, to keep them up in the latest gear. You know, we know that you're spending money to, you know, to put a good future. You know, hey, your younger one strikes in the NFL, he'll be able to take care of it. He'll be able to take care of you. You know, just don't love money so much that it affects your relationship with your child, no matter what the situation is.
That's true. I mean, because they might not soar in athletics, but they still could be lawyers, doctors, electricians, carpenters. No matter what, they can still provide money back to the parent when they become old. And those are the kids that will be around their parents. And they will not settle for anything else. My dad died of cancer. He told me, Charles, please leave. I said, Dad, I can't. With tears coming down my eyes, I will be here.
Okay.
I mean, and that's just the thing about it is I appreciate the fact that he put hard work into me. And so, no, Dad, I know you don't want me to see you like that, but I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to let paramedics just treat you any kind of way. I carried my dad to the ambulance the last time he went to the hospital. I didn't want nobody else to touch him.
Nice. I understand. Okay. So,
and by the way, we're on the way to my grandmother's house.
Yay, Grandma!
Yeah, and that's my grandmother. That was her only child, my father. So yeah, it hurt me so much besides any football game to sit there at the funeral beside my dad is dead to hear my grandmother crying.
Yeah, that must be a lot.
I got to deal with my mom, who had been with my dad over 30 years, my grandmother, and me dealing with my father's, he's sitting there in the casket, buried at Veterans Memorial Cemetery, served the country.
Thank you to those out there who serve the country and are super awesome, and we really, really thank you for it from the bottom of our hearts here at CP3 TV.
Most definitely, because they protect us. They go over wherever they need to go to protect this country. So, salute, shout out to those who protect us. It's not only military, it's police, it's different people. We have to respect that in certain ways, but we need to be respected also.
Okay, let's talk about something very, very important too, Mr. Pharms, please. How do you feel about the situation of mental health for athletes, especially the youth?
It's according to what they're going through. Sometimes a parent may not understand that they lost a game. They ended up losing the game, and the parent can still be, why did you all lose the game when they're already dealing with the fact they're hurt because they want to win?
What about life and life in general, and not the parent's opinion?
Well, they still have to plan on what they're going to do for the future. If they get a chance to get a scholarship, they still have to decide what classes they're going to take. They have to decide what field of study they want to go into.
What if they don't care about classes?
Well, if they don't care about classes, they don't care about being successful. A man without a plan is a man planning to fail, man or woman.
So how do you come up with the plan?
They have to do that themselves. You can help them and sit down and say, well, what do you think about for the future? I've done it with my sons. And I graduated with a business administration degree, and they're taking marketing.
Okay. So the reason why I spoke about this is because I think the younger generation, they have no concerns about, hey, after my career is wonderfully created and done and I have many accolades and life continues on after that.
I mean,
Life
sometimes
continues on,
it's gonna continue.
whether they like it or not.
It's gonna go. Whether you make it to the NFL or whatever professional point in your life, I mean, life is gonna go on no matter what. That's a bottom line situation. I mean, and you have to prepare for that.
So how does an artist prepare for the future?
They have to know. I mean, they have to feel with their gut. They say go with your gut feeling.
Feeling?
Go with your gut feeling if it's in a positive way.
So how do you decide what type of career path that you want after a post career? Do you find what you like to do?
You find what you like to do. I mean, you have to feel and know that okay, you can't play that sport anymore. I mean, you can still help others. I mean, that's why I'm a big kid. I like running around with kids. I mean, I'm still participating in sport. You know, I'm not doing it at a professional level, but I'm still right there, you know, getting exercise, having fun, seeing them smile. I mean, that puts joy in my heart. As we're about to pull up to my grandmother's house. And of course, hey,